And we are here again for our Q&A Friday with Kistemaker Business Law Group. And we've got Aram Kistemaker, of course, managing partner and owner of Kistemaker Business Law Group. And our guest today is Cheryl Tanenbaum, and she is the SVP and CFO of Intracoastal Bank. And I'm going to let Cheryl tell a little bit more about her different titles. She's a tech expert as well at the bank, and several other things. And Cheryl, welcome. Thanks so much for being on.
Thank you so much, Cheryl. We feel very honored to have you with us today.
Why, thank you. I appreciate you inviting me, and I'm glad I was able to break away from the banking craziness to be able to join you. So I have 36 years of banking experience. I know I only look 20, but I really do have 36 years. I started off as a teller, and I've done just about everything in the bank that you can imagine. I worked my way up doing new accounts and sales management, operations management, and IT and technology. I do all the project management for the bank now. But I'm also the chief financial officer, so I get to play with the money and invest and make sure that we're financially sound. I'm also in charge of human resources, so I get to do all the compliance and, payroll and dealing with all of our employees. Luckily, we're a small bank, so we only have 40 employees, so we're very family oriented, and I'm able to know everybody inside and out, which is nice. So I've been with this bank since the beginning. I started Intracoastal with Bruce Page back in 2008. So I've been with the bank about 12 and a half years now. And before this bank, Bruce and I started another community bank, Cypress Coquina, and I was also part of that planning. So this is our second community bank together.
Awesome.
And your bigger title that I thought was very relevant is, aren't you also the crisis?
Oh, yes. Yes. Another one of my titles. I am the crisis coordinator for the bank. And as we all know, we're currently in a crisis with the pandemic situation. So I have taken the lead with COVID-19 and in making sure that our employees are safe, that our clients are safe, making sure that we're communicating not only to our clients but to our employees, making sure we have safe workstations, safe building. Also, I've been involved in setting up all the technology and portals for the new lending systems that we had to create in a blink of an eye to help prepare for the loan forbearance deferrals, and also the new PPP program, the Paycheck Protection Program. So it's been a whirlwind. But
so talk to us a little bit about your experience with working with your clients to obtain the PPP loans.
Well, it's been very interesting. I could say in the 36 years of banking, none of us have ever experienced a situation like this. We have processed more loans in the last week than we probably have, in years, ever, in that quick of a turnaround time. It was pretty, I would say, rocky at first. The problem being that the government rolled out this program and they announced it to the business world, but they didn't really give any guidance to the banks on how to handle the program. There was a lot of questions that we needed answered as bankers, and it was very hard to get quick answers from the SBA program. The other issue is that they were constantly changing the rules and the applications. So while we're all trying to, do the best we can to help our clients because we're a community bank and that's what we're here for, we don't want to see our business customers suffer. So, our goal was to do everything within our power to help and get them the money that they need to continue. And it was a really big challenge. So we had to gather the team up. We only have 40 employees, so we're not a big bank. And out of those 40 employees, probably less than half handle loans. So
Right.
we didn't have a lot of staff. So it was all hands on deck. And I have to say, I am so proud of the team that I have working for us because everybody pitched in. We had tellers, making phone calls. We had tellers scanning work for us. We had people working all night. We were bringing dinner in for our group. And they were staying till, midnight, trying to get these applications into the queue for our clients. We were working Saturdays all day, Sundays, even Easter weekend, even though we recognized that, for some it was a religious, weekend, we had employees that were willing to work that Saturday. So
what does it really look like from our end? I think like a lot of us not working for a bank or actually processing these loans. I mean, I'm a small business. Of course, I applied for all the loans that I could, including PPP. But aside from having my office manager work with me and get all the information to the bank, I don't really understand the process. Number one, why does an SBA loan have to go through your banker? Because the money's not coming, it's not getting a conventional loan through the bank. So why was it set up in that way?
Well, I think that they were trying, not all banks are SBA lenders. So that was the first part. Like, we're not an SBA lender. We were not approved. So for our bank, we had to first go through an approval process. They did a special approval process for non-SBA lenders. And that was part of our holdup is first we had to get approved.
Similar to Center State Bank. I think they weren't SBA and had to go through that approval process.
Right. So our clients didn't understand that. All they heard was PPP, go to your bank and get your money. And in the meantime, the banks weren't even qualified yet to be able to accept the applications. So I think everybody was kind of rushing through the process without thinking about it. But I think that they were just trying to get as many institutions to be able to take the applications in, because I'm sure that the SBA probably would not have been able to handle the influx.
And I suppose banks are the only other institution that knows how to process loans.
Well, it's also the underwriting, the underwriting and understanding, what is needed, knowing your customers well, because there's other regulations that go into it, such as the Bank Secrecy Act.
Right.
And knowing your customer and being able to say that you've done the enhanced due diligence on that client already and that they are a legitimate business. So there was no way that the SBA would have been able to handle all of that. So by going through your bank, the bank already knows you as a customer, you're established, they can vouch for you, they can say, we have all the paperwork on file to do the due diligence. And I think that's why a lot of banks are only doing these loans for their clients.
Got it.
And that, because I know that was a source of frustration for even some of our clients because we weren't approved yet. And then they tried to go to other banks, like the bigger banks, and they wouldn't accept the applications because they don't bank there. And, part of that is because of the BSA piece of it. And the other part is that they probably didn't have enough, people to get through their own customer applications. You got to take care of your clients first.
Now, what does the bank get out of this? I mean, I hate to ask that, but as you sort of stated, you've had employees working overtime. You yourself are working overtime when so many people, not that we're relaxing at home, but you know, a lot of people are kind of slow right now, and you got to enjoy it for the situation that we're all in. But here you're working Saturdays, Sundays over the religious sort of weekend. Does the bank actually make something for doing this? You get
we get some fee income based on the amount of the loan. However, you know, I don't know if that's going to cover the overtime costs and you know the food that we supplied, because you know, of course we're going to bring in dinner for our employees that stay till midnight. You got to treat them right, and then you know, we had to create some, you know, using technology to create these loan portals to be able to collect the applications electronically, because we try to stay away from paper. So of course that is going to take some expense on the bank's part. But as a community bank, our goal was to help our business clients in a time of need, and we can't, you know, worry about whether we're going to make money off of this. I mean, that's not even why we're doing it. We're doing it for our customers because our heart breaks hearing these stories, especially from some of our long-term customers who have worked so hard to build up their business, and now they can't even guarantee that they're going to be able to reopen, or they have employees that are unable to get paid and feed their families. I'm blessed. I tell my employees every day, be thankful that you have a job. Yeah. And while it's stressful and we still have to come in, at least we got paychecks. And, you know, we could pay our bills and we can, you know, feed our families. There's so many people out there that are not in that position.
Now, have you had some businesses actually obtain the loan and they've received the funds?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. We're really excited about that. We've already funded, you know, about $10 million. And we are so excited that our team was able to do what they did in such a short amount of time. It boggles my mind. You know, every day I pinch myself and I say to myself, how did we get so lucky to have so many good employees that were able to do that?
Right. And then because now talk to us a little bit about what everybody's hearing. So for myself, as I stated, I have not received the loan. Fortunately or unfortunately, I'm also not going to receive the stimulus check. A lot of people didn't understand that that's very income based.
Yes.
So if you have a joint income of a certain amount, you're not receiving that stimulus check. And unfortunately, I feel like I'm going to end up being in one of those categories as I have been. I feel like a lot of professionals, your white collar professionals, doctors and lawyers, engineers, we get hit really hard. We don't get money that easily.
No.
We tend to have smaller businesses. So now with the EIDL, the economic injury disaster loan, forget about that because it's all based on employee. That $10,000 cap has now gone away. Now it's $1,000 per employee. Many of us don't have 10 employees. I have not seen that check. As I stated, unfortunately, I guess I'm one of those horror stories that although I got my application in a week and a half to 2 weeks ago, I was still getting emails up until yesterday from my bank requesting information that I had provided 2 weeks ago. And I don't believe that I'm in any queue, and nobody has written me back to tell me if I'm in the queue yet. And I have heard that the funds have now dried up and there is no more money to provide the loans. So how are you advising your clients about that? And maybe now I'll actually hear it from a banker as to what is going on. So those that have submitted their application and haven't gotten their money, do we just assume we're not going to get the money, or?
That's really hard to say because without knowing if you're in the queue or not, my
Okay.
understanding is if you're in the queue and you've been approved, then it's just the bank has to give you the money with, I think, 10 days from the time you're approved. That's the turnaround time. I don't know. I can't speak for what other banks do. I could tell you that at our bank, as soon as we got it into the queue and we got the approval, we would notify our client and then we would process the documents that they need to sign and we sent it to them. We use e-sign because we're trying to make it as quick and efficient and not have to have face-to-face contact. People don't want to leave their homes and we certainly don't want. We're trying to limit our face-to-face, and it's been working great for us. We've had very quick turnaround time receiving our loan documents back from our clients. And as soon as we get those back, we're funding our customers and getting the money in their pockets.
I have to tell you, you're the first person I've spoken to. So I think Intracoastal Bank's done some kind of phenomenal job because my friends that have gone through the same bank that I've gone through, they've not received their money either. One of my friends, and this is a very large company in our town, I'm not going to divulge the name, but huge company in town, and they did not get their funding through BB&T. So you stating that, wow, you funded $10 million, that's great to hear. And that obviously means those are to local community businesses.
Absolutely.
People in our community are luckily getting money from some institution. And yes. I love hearing that because even my office manager, she works with a lot of other small businesses because she does accounting work. Mm-hmm. And none of her small businesses have received the money. So I feel like you've had some great success, Cheryl. You guys should really pat yourself on the back.
Well, it's also a numbers game. I mean, to be fair, a BB&T, they probably have so many more clients than we would have as far, we're a small community bank, but that's what separates a community bank from a larger regional bank is the fact that we're so close to our customers. We have very strong relationships with our clients. We know our clients inside and out. And we have to face them. When the doors open again, we're going to have to look them in the eye, and we don't want to have to say, I'm sorry, Mr. So-and-so, that you didn't get your money. That's not what a community bank is about. We need to make sure that we did everything possible to get those funds into their hands. And I have to say, we're very proud that our team did pull together the way they did.
And not even being SBA approved.
Yep.
I mean, imagine if you were SBA approved, you probably would have gotten several other loans out.
Yeah.
So
and the cool thing is that, because we're a locally owned bank, we can make decisions very quickly. We don't have to go through a large corporate ladder to, our CEO lives here in Flagler County. I'm here in Flagler County. We have other executive management team in Volusia County, and we make the decisions. So we don't have to go to somebody else to get an approval, which makes things move quickly.
Now, talk to me about the process. You said, so essentially you get an email and I assume you get correspondence back from SBA saying approved. Mm-hmm. Then within 10 days you fund it, you have to send the paperwork to your client. Just so people out there actually know what the process is like. I mean, this is the first time that I've actually had a banker been able to even describe what the process is like. So then you have all the paperwork, you send it to them, they e-sign. Does it look like conventional loan documents?
Yes.
But no collateral. There's no collateral.
No.
And for those that don't understand what collateral is, although I think most Americans have some kind of mortgage or so collateral, typically you'll have real property or something of value that you almost barter in exchange for the loan. What's unique about the PPP loan program and the loans that are being given to businesses during COVID-19 are you don't need collateral. So essentially, even if you don't have anything of value, you can get the money.
Right, it's unsecured.
Now, is everything still getting recorded in the same manner that a typical note mortgage or any other loan?
No, because there's no mortgage.
There's no collateral, so there's no security agreement, no necessity of recording anything with the county.
I don't believe, and I apologize because I am not a lender.
Right, no, which is totally fine. I'm sorry.
Yeah. No. But usually when you record something, it's because there's a mortgage involved.
Right.
And
you don't record the promissory note. And then,
right.
so what are the terms as far as payback? Do they all vary from loan to loan?
Well, I believe that there's a 2-year amortization on these loans, and I think that for the payroll piece of it, in order to be forgiven, it's 8 weeks. Yeah, to keep them on the payroll.
How many weeks?
I believe it's 8 weeks, and then they have to show proof to the SBA in order to get it forgiven.
Got it.
And I think 75% of the proceeds have to be used for payroll purpose.
And it's only up to $10,000 still, correct?
No, not on the PPP.
So how much is
I think that's based on your payroll. I think it's a percent.
Right, that's that formula of 2.5 months times total payroll. But at some point, okay, right. So it will depend on the size of the business.
That's correct.
And I think there's like a $20 million cap on it or something like that.
Yeah, that might be. I I don't think we'll ever have that issue at our bank. So that's probably why I didn't focus on the.
Well, it was interesting. I heard Ruth Chris, the nice steak restaurant, was like the first one to get the PPP loan. And I think it was like up to a lot of millions of dollars.
Wow.
So I guess we'll know that they'll still be in business. We can enjoy a good steak after all of this.
If we can afford it.
Yeah, very true. Very, very true. What are you seeing? You went into something that's very, very interesting. Do you, as a banker, think that, the cost of living is going to go up after all of this?
Mm-hmm.
Like, don't you think the prices at the restaurants will probably go up? Because I don't think they're going to let in the crowds that they used to let in.
Yes. And I also think the cost for supplies, it's a trickle-down effect. And I don't think life as we knew it is going to be the same going forward. That's what I kind of tell my family. There's not going to be rock concerts and sporting events where we're all huddled together. But I do think that, look, we're already seeing some prices going up. Toilet paper is expensive. If you could find it.
If you can find it.
It's like being in a third world country. Sometimes you go into the stores, but I've seen even hand sanitizer for $7 for, a small bottle, and it's supply and demand. So the supply is limited right now. We rely on China for a lot of our goods. And I think that's going to change. I think that's going to change because I think people are going to be, I'm already hearing it, that people, they see it's made in China and they don't want to touch it because they're afraid it's going to have the virus, attached to it.
Nevertheless, it is very interesting. If you watch these documentaries, we became such like an open world with such free access to travel to places like China, Russia, here and there. And I feel like it was back when there were lots of wars and lots of sicknesses like the plague and things like that. That's why the United States was such an isolationist country, and we were able to thrive because we were so far away from everything. Yep. We wouldn't get the diseases and things. And I feel like what's interesting is I think we're going to go back to that. And I think like my kids' generation, and probably, I don't know, how old's your granddaughter?
She's only a year.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe even more so for her generation. My son's a 12-year-old, but if you talk to a lot of parents, our middle school kids and some of the elementary school kids, 4th, 5th, 6th, are not having the issues that we thought they would have with all this isolation. Because they were so social media driven, FaceTiming on their phone. Their social life has only slightly changed with regards to sports and things like that. Yes, the school has changed, but I think they will adapt pretty quickly to that. And I wonder if we're not going to turn more into like an isolationist type of country. And I think it's also going to be amongst states. So I started thinking about like North versus the South again yesterday.
Closing the borders,
and the civil wars that we used to have here, because, you know, like how Trump's saying each sort of state decide what you want to do. By doing that, some states may take a really hard approach to isolationism and say, you can't come to us and don't bring your diseases here. So it's just going to be a very, very interesting time. And I do feel bad about the rock concerts, but we can all have a rock concert in our house. They should put on concerts. Those things could be a lot cheaper.
Yeah, I agree.
From the comfort of our home. I mean, why couldn't they put on a phenomenal concert? We all have beautiful TVs now.
Yeah,
we could enjoy it. And
remember
they're supposed to invent those TVs where you can smell and you can like almost have the sensation of being there. I guarantee you people are doing it because it's needed more than ever now.
I agree with you.
Yeah, the American Country Music Awards was supposed to be on the other night, and instead they went to each country music singer's house.
Okay.
They did a song, and sometimes they FaceTimed each other, you know, like Brad Paisley and somebody would FaceTime and they would perform together, and they did some Kenny Rogers tributes, and it was really cool to see where they live, their living room, Florida Georgia line, you know, both guys, you know, Brian Kelly and them were together, self-isolating, and you saw the kids and the dog, and, you know, it was really cool.
Well, I also think, you know, work-wise, it's going to change too. I think you're going to see more and more people working from home because of this. You know, it forced a lot of companies to quickly change and allow telecommuting. And I think that now that we've been doing it for a few months, people are starting to say, hey, you know, this could work. Why do I need to have a big building with offices, paying rent or, you know, whatever? You know,
and it's going to be wonderful for women because at least in industries, and I think it's the same for banking, law, medical doctors, bankers, professionals, because when we go on maternity leave, that was not necessarily, it's not frowned upon, but it can mess up the billables for a particular firm. And women sometimes like to take 2 years off to take care of this baby that they've just carried. And I do, and a lot of businesses were like, no, you can't work remotely. They almost have to allow it now. And legally, I think they're going to have to allow it, because if you could do it during this virus time, why can't you do it once they want to go back to work? And people also know how to function with their children at home, their spouse at home. So you know that it's not wholly, I mean, it is kind of distracting, but you know, you can do it.
I think even for the schools, you know, my husband's a teacher, and I said to, you know, he's teaching virtually right now from home. And I said, you know, what about when you go back into the regular school setting? If you have kids that maybe don't do well in a classroom setting, why can't you Zoom your class? And those type of children, maybe they just, you know, Zoom in while you're teaching, and then you can mute them and they can't disrupt the other kids that want to learn and be, you know, face to face. But I could see that happening. You know, you have kids that maybe have autism and, you know, they get, you know, sidetracked, and maybe, you know, they could somehow learn that way and not have to be disruptive at the same time.
Where is your husband a teacher? I assume in Flagler County.
Yes.
And is he at FPC?
No, he's at Buddy Taylor. He's been there for 32 years.
Wow.
31 years. I take that back. 31 years. Middle school.
So, I mean, essentially the word is that they're not going back to school.
He hasn't been formally told that, but I can't imagine that they're going to be able to get parents to do
Apparently, Flagler's Teachers Union was on the front lines.
Yes, she was there.
To support not going back to school, which wholly makes sense to me, because teachers are saying not that we don't want to go back to school, but it's going to be the quickest way to kickstart this virus again, because there is no way to social distance at school, unfortunately. And with that comes so much liability so it was interesting, the approach. Flagler and Volusia are very different. although
Very
we're so
different.
close.
Yes.
And it's a little bit mind-boggling.
Yes, they are totally different.
Right.
Yes.
And I mean, it's so close. Because I don't think that there's even been a statement made from the teachers union in Volusia County.
Hmm.
And I know Flagler was like, I saw it in the national news.
Yeah,
that
Katie
Flagler,
Hansen is right on top of it. She's great.
and they were like ready for this.
Yes.
Technology was already a given at FPC
Yes.
High School.
All the schools, every elementary, every school, each kid has
I
their
may
own.
know from the high school because one of my best friends is a teacher there, and she's Zooming where
Yeah.
I'll say, again, I guess I won't announce where my son goes to school, but he has not had he has not had a Zoom class. He has not seen teachers. His math teacher, he was able to have sort of a one-on-one meeting, but he has not seen a teacher teaching a class via Zoom.
Really?
The entire time. And he's got 7 classes.
Yeah, my son goes to Seabreeze. He's a senior. Same thing, Aram. You know, you log in, you do your work. But I heard this week they are going to start taking attendance. You have to log in, show that you've done work. Otherwise, so many absences, the teacher reports you, to like the.
And you know that they're doing that more. So I was talking to my friend Charity Palacios. I think you guys know her husband, Eric Palacios.
Mm-hmm.
Financial planner. She was saying it's more all about the seniors, because the seniors need a certain amount of credits in order to graduate.
Yes.
And that they have to do all of this monitoring, and there may have not even been an issue with even having school. They could have maybe done this as this summer break or something. It all is being dictated by the seniors and their need to graduate.
Well, also the schools get funding based on attendance too. So they have to have classes. I mean, my husband, they said at Flagler, they're doing the attendance based on whether or not you hand in your work. So if you don't hand in your work, you're assumed to be absent from school, and then they're calling, those families and, dealing with it that way. But I know that schools get funded by attendance, so they have to do all that. It's not just the seniors.
Sure. And back to what Cheryl was saying about Flagler being prepared for this, because, you're absolutely right that all kids get, iPads or whatever.
Well, laptops, yeah.
So Volusia, I keep getting voicemails for families that don't have technology at home during these times. You can pick up and drop off, iPads from the schools, and oh my goodness, coordinating that whole thing.
And they need to figure something out. I've got 3 extra computers at the law firm. We've got 2 here. If I just knew how to strip them, I would love to donate those to people, because could you imagine having to go pick up the packet, do that work, then go back to the school and turn it in? I mean, horrible.
And you can't go to the library to use the Wi-Fi because the libraries are closed.
It's very interesting times.
Yeah.
Now, do you have any other information with regard, like any other kind of loans that our community businesses should be looking at? It's basically, like you said, you're going to be sick of the words PPP after all of this. Aside for PPP, EIDL, which the bankers aren't dealing with, what else is out there? Because as I stated, what if I don't get this money? What if I don't see PPP? What if my law practice becomes even slower? And what if that occurs for the next quarter? What does somebody like myself do, who worked so hard her entire life to have my own firm? I don't want to lose everything in a blink of an eye.
No, I know. My suggestion would be to speak to your relationship banker, whoever, I'm assuming you have one. I know at our bank, every customer is assigned to, whether it be on the lending side or the deposit side, a relationship banker who knows you and could give you advice as far as what could be done, whether it be a line of credit or something temporary, or a commercial real estate loan if you own real estate. If you currently have loans and you can't make payment, you might be able to renegotiate like 6 months interest only or 3 months interest only, or maybe a deferral for a certain period of time. So my
And
first,
that's fairly typical, isn't it? So people out there, I'm asking some things that, I may know, but, everybody doesn't, unfortunately, everybody doesn't have a personal relationship. And I assume Intercoastal's not turning anybody down to start banking with them, or because you're a community bank in crisis right now, is it like, well, we've got enough people we've got our personal relationships with, and we're at capacity. Anybody can come to your bank and start that personal relationship
absolutely,
as of tomorrow, correct?
Yes, yes. I mean, our lobbies aren't open, but if they make an appointment, we certainly will let them in. And
you can use Zoom calls.
yeah, yeah, oh yeah, we have, that's the other thing, we've given Zoom to all of our employees to be able, whether it be a new account.
You can do virtual appointments, like I'm doing virtual consults.
Yes, yes, absolutely.
So people should be looking at, some just quick tips for business owners, and also just on their personal side, is getting some deferrals, whether it's on your car leases. I know that cars are deferring that. Yes, you have to pay it back, but you can pay it back at the end of the loan.
Right.
I know if you've got a mortgage on a piece of real estate that you have, that they are deferring some of those payments.
That's correct.
I know credit cards similar to American Express and some of the other bigger, what do we call it, credit companies. They are, what are they deferring? Interest? Are they deferring interest or just getting rid of the interest?
I think it depends on the company.
Hopefully they're getting rid of the interest, but
or lowering the rates. I mean, they might even be willing to lower, some of these credit cards have crazy high rates, and seeing that the Fed has dropped their rates and we're pretty much almost to a negative interest rate environment, they might be willing to lower.
I know who I utilize for processing my credit card payments. Obviously, most of our clients are going to go to using credit card. Everybody's trying to avoid the mail. So my credit card company, merchant credit company, contacted me and said, we're not charging you or charging that very high interest on credit card payments for the next 2 months. So that was nice. There was some sort of rent program, but I think that's also lost its funding, where it was for landlords like myself, in case I wasn't getting rental payments from my customers or tenants. There was something that I could, but I was too late on that.
Yeah,
all my tenants have been paying rent. We'll see. I think everybody had their stockpile of money for April.
Yes.
I think even May may be okay. If this goes much longer, then I think the real hassle is going to be June, July.
I don't think we've seen, I think there's bad times coming our way. Even if we reopen in May, it's going to be a trickle-down effect, and it's going to take time for everybody to get back on their feet and to be able to go back to some sort of normalcy. But, if you're having problems with any of your payments, don't just ignore it and just think it's going to go away. Talk to your banker if you get, into trouble, and work with them, because that's what we're here for, is to work.
And now's the time to ask, not 2 months from now, because I feel like then you're going to be inundated again.
Yeah.
Everybody's obsessed with the PPP right now. Go and ask your bankers for other things. So I was lucky enough when I started my firm, I have my line of equity, but I already have that lined up. Wouldn't now also be a great time? Aren't interest rates really low right now? It's really so advantageous to borrow money right now. Don't feel like your bankers aren't working for you. Go ask them for a line in equity when something else happens. You might not even need it for this scenario.
Right, but have it just in case.
And I mean, I'm sure you're processing things like that right now.
Oh yeah, we're doing regular lending as well as, all these new government
And the
loans.
real estate market's just been at a peak. I feel like loads of people have equity in their house.
Yes.
Now's a great time to get that equity out of your home. Just stockpile your money because, like what you just said, this is just the beginning. They keep talking about the curve of the virus. We need to talk about the economy and its curve.
Yes.
And
Yep.
we're not even at the peak of, and I mean, I undoubtedly think a recession is going to happen.
Oh, yeah, I would say we're probably in a recession at this point, and I think
That it might be a depression.
Well, let's hope it doesn't get to be a depression. I don't want to be part of that. But you know what? The world has changed so much that there is nothing that's normal anymore. You can't go by past history because nobody knows.
Ladies, tell me what's going on at Lowe's. There's no depression there. I should have bought Lowe's stock. I go back and forth from Lowe's because I live in Breakaway Trails and my office is beachside.
Oh, okay.
There wasn't one available parking spot in Lowe's. Everybody's going and spending their extra cash at Lowe's.
Because they're fixing their house, they're quarantined. You might as well fix it up and paint and, fix those faucets that have been leaking for the last 10 years. I already have my honey-do list, so my husband's been doing all kinds of stuff while he's home in between teaching.
And they have said contracting type of work, handyman, it's still considered essential services.
Yes, absolutely.
So Cheryl, anything else you want to say kind of to the viewers and the public with regards to sort of the virus, banking, what you've been going through?
I would just say, remember, banks are open for business. We're here to service you. So if you have any financial needs, come and see us, your bankers. I also want to say, especially
how they come and see you. Like, just say someone's like, oh my God, I've been hearing about an Intracoastal. I would like to make this change. How do they do that right now with, I assume your doors are locked currently?
Like I said, you could call us and set an appointment. We could do it virtually and use e-sign.
Who should they call, Cheryl? Just go Google Intracoastal Bank.
Yeah, our website has the contact numbers. We have an 800 number, and then we have separate numbers for Volusia and Flagler. You can reach out to us on Facebook. We have, Facebook where we can answer your questions. Yeah, I mean, we are open for business, whether it be deposits or loans. And my biggest thing, and I hope this is a wake-up call, not just for, adults, but young adults. You need to save money and have a stockpile for emergencies, at least a 6-month worth of salary put aside. Save. I mean, right now it might not be easy to do so because we have so many people unemployed, but when things get back to normal and your paychecks start flowing again, save. Put 10 to 20% of your paycheck aside into a savings account. Don't touch it, and stockpile, have an emergency fund, because I know even with my kids, they would laugh at me and say, Mom, I'm not going to retire for another 65 years. I don't need to worry about that. I'm like, you always need to worry about it because we're lucky this time. The government bailed people out, but you know what? That might not happen next time. We don't have that kind of money. And $1,200, I'm sorry, that's not going to get you through anything. That's barely going to pay your rent.
Bill. I mean, because all those prices have gone up.
Yeah. So if, that's why I can't stress, save your money. You don't need to go to Starbucks every day. I mean, if you put $5 a day into your account, that's whatever, $35 a week that you could be saving. It'll add up quickly. Mm-hmm. So that's the one thing that I would like to discuss.
Are you guys still providing notary services or anything like that?
By appointment, yes.
By appointment. We do live, like you said, your neighbor, Volusia County. Flagler, I think, is even per capita a little bit older.
Yes.
So, and the industry I work in, condo HOAs, most of my clients are above 65. I work with a lot of senior citizens.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of my senior citizens aren't tech savvy.
Right.
A lot of them are just, everybody's figuring it out. But for those that are not tech savvy, how are you encouraging them with their banking? Because a lot of seniors don't even love using ATMs or doing deposits via their
mobile phones
and things like that. What can they do? I know Cindy mentioned that you've got 24/7 teller service.
Well, through the ATM and then online banking, and we have our mobile apps. So you have access to see your money, whenever you want at your convenience. We also have telebanking. They can call in if they're not tech savvy. They can call in to get their balances or see what checks have cleared their account. But because we're so relationship driven, we will walk you through it on the phone. I mean, we can zoom in and share our screen and show them the steps. We also have quite an array of educational videos that demonstrate how to do a mobile deposit or how to access online banking. So we have a personal education center on our website and a business educational center because we have it broken down, and it makes it so easy to just look at those demos. And I mean, you could walk yourself through it. It's that simple.
You almost might not need these big, beautiful banks anymore.
Yeah, well, we'll always need an office.
Right.
Yeah, and that's how our business model is. If you notice, we only have 2 banking centers.
Now, can you state for everybody where you are located?
Sure. In Volusia, we're on LPGA Boulevard, 2140 LPGA, right across from the Tanger Outlet. Can't miss us. Next to Stonewood Grill. Yep. And then in Flagler County, we're at oh my God, 1290 Palm Coast Parkway in Palm Coast, which we're right across from the post office and next to Watson Realty. So we have 2 beautiful banking centers. We have very educated employees and dedicated, as you could tell. And we're here to service our people. So that's what it's all about.
Thank you so much. Cindy, do you have anything else? I know we wanted to talk a little bit about the platforms and things like that. If you want to go into any detail about.
Sure, Cheryl, I know we just have a few minutes left, but how are you keeping in touch with your kids and your granddaughter? I'm sure you were tech savvy before all this happened, keeping in contact with them. Is it Zoom? Is it, Facebook Messenger video? What are you doing?
Yeah, well, I'm a techno guru. I love technology. So right now, my kids are on, they have Android phones, so we use Google Duo to do our.
Heard of that.
Oh yeah, I have an iPhone, so they don't have FaceTime because they're Android. So I downloaded the Google Duo app, and I'm able to FaceTime with my granddaughter. So that's fun. And then we also, like last night, we used Zoom, and all my cousins in New York, we had about 10 people on the Zoom call, and we all logged in together, and we were on for about 2 hours. Wow. And it was a lot of fun catching up with my family because I haven't been to New York in a while, and it was really fun. My 83-year-old aunt even joined in. Because she's quarantined in her apartment, and they got her an iPhone, and she, as she calls herself, she's a techno-tard. That's what she calls herself. She hates technology. She's 83 years old. She's a yoga instructor. She could do splits and all that stuff, but don't ask to do anything with technology, but she managed to get on. And so we do that as well. And I just love using Zoom personally, even at the bank. For instance, we, have 2 banking centers, and I have to communicate human resource items to some of my employees in Volusia, and I can't get to them because of this quarantine. So I used Zoom, and I was able to talk to them, and then I was able to send them their documents via e-sign, and they were able to sign everything, and it was all paperless, easy breezy. So we rely on technology a lot for communication.
So you are using e-sign for your documents, and it allows you to sort of customize each document, doesn't it?
Yep, and then when our customers receive it, all they have to do is hit start, and it prompts them where to sign it, and it creates an electronic signature, and it's all legal, so we get an audit trail, so we have the IP address from the computer that it was done on, the time, the date, and everything is within, it's all legal compliance.
Now, are you using any other sort of technology with regards to your clients aside for Zoom, with regards to virtual meetings or anything like that?
I do use Microsoft Teams like we're using today, and but for the most part, I've been using Zoom, and even our board meetings, we're doing virtual board meetings because we're trying to keep the social distancing, but we have to have these meetings legally. So now, we have our 12 board people all doing Zoom, and
so
they're all
get through Zoom. Now, have you seen any difference between Zoom's technology and Teams technology? Because I'm still trying to decide if we're gonna, because that through Teams, we can still use Zoom somehow.
Yeah,
feature.
I'm not, I'm just learning.
Teams?
Yeah.
Me too.
I am more fluent with Zoom. I find it to be very user-friendly. I mean, of course, there's always security risks and things like that.
That's what I was trying to figure out. But I know with Teams, Zoom is capped at how large of a meeting you can have. And some of my board meetings, because we have to open it to members, could be up to 100, 200. Teams will allow up to 250 on a call. And I guess with Zoom, you don't have to always do video, correct?
No, you don't. You could just do phone, but it depends on your licensing too.
Right. You probably have the robust licensing. I don't have any licensing through Zoom yet because we have Teams. So I'm like, I pay for this software. I need to figure it out. And I guess soon we'll all have that extra sort of ring lighting behind us, and
I love my virtual background. I have Intracoastal Bank in mine. I took the logo that we have, and I put it behind me. So now when I have business meetings, such as board meetings, or I do that, and I have
your background. I want to try to figure that out also. And yesterday, when I had a meeting with the other lawyer in the firm, she did her background as if she was sitting in Brooklyn, like an office, and the background was Brooklyn. And she's like, "Look, I'm talking from my Brooklyn office."
Yeah, I had one with the beach, and it had the palm trees blowing in the wind, and the waves were moving, and I said, "I'm on the beach right now."
But it's great what we'll be able to do. And again, thank you so much. I really appreciate it, and hope you don't get too many calls after this.
We'll take it on. If we can handle all those loan apps in such a short time, we can handle it.
Good. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you, ladies, and stay safe and healthy.
You enjoy your weekend. Bye-bye.
Bye.